you want the perfect bicep workout, do not click off this video, guys. I'm gonna give you the only workout you will ever need to get huge arms. I've been obsessed with having huge arms since I was like 12 years old. And so I've done a tremendous amount of bicep exercises, a ton of good ones, a ton of terrible ones. So I'm gonna show you my top 5 bicep exercises to actually explode your arms. As always, if you're not subscribed to my channel, please do so. Get your Alpha Elite apparel, code Eric. Without further ado, let's get into this video. First exercise, we are going to do one of my all-time favorites. It is a supinated incline iso curl. So supination refers to the palm angle. If we want to hit the kind of peak of that bicep, we want to be in that supinated palm open position. And the way we want to do this is in a way that's going to allow us to isolate that as much as possible. So what I'm going to do is tuck my elbows all the way down to my sides. I'm going to arch the lower back. And then what I'm going to do is reach out to the sides. So I'm not going to curl straight here because that's going to take a little bit. See how it takes a little impetus off my biceps? I'm going to arch here, get a ton of stretch, and then I'm gonna curl up without moving my elbows. So I'm not gonna come up to here, I'm gonna come here, and I'm gonna keep the tension in the bicep for the whole movement. So big stretch, reach, curl up, turn the pinky slightly towards the inside, and then I'm gonna go slow on that eccentric. But you see, I'm not what I call over curling. So I'm not gonna curl all the way to here, because what I'm gonna do then is stack the joint. I have no tension on my bicep whatsoever. My elbows have lifted. So what I do is drop the elbows in and go to here. I still have tension on my bicep here, as opposed to when I lifted the elbow. So I'm gonna go down to the bottom, big stretch, open, drive up, squeeze, super slow on that eccentric, big stretch, drive, and squeeze. I'm gonna hit these for 12 to 15 with a really moderate weight. So I know 35 doesn't seem super light, but considering if I were to do kind of like sloppy air curls standing, I'd probably use like the 80s. So this is pretty light for me. So if you're starting out, I would do maybe 15, maybe 20 pounds, maybe even 10 to get the form down. And then you can start to work the weight up as you feel more and more comfortable with the movement pattern. Also worth noting is this is putting your biceps on an island, so you're not allowed to use any momentum, and so it's going to be a little humbling at first. You're going to want to do this here because you have so much more leverage, but you're going to lose so much of that concentration, especially the long head of the bicep. So literally one of my favorites. I usually use it to start my workout because it really stretches that bicep. It really gets a really good pump without having to go super heavy. So great first movement pattern. Let's hop into number 2. All right, second exercise, a lying iso bicep curl. You can do this on the basically freestanding cables, or you can do this on a seated row. I like the seated row so you're not lying on the floor. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push my butt pretty close to the front. I'm gonna lie all the way back. It's gonna get I'm already feeling a ton of stretch in the bicep. What I do is keep the elbows tucked down, curl up, squeeze, and then slow as I can on that eccentric, opening up at the bottom of the rep. As you can see, I have a straight bar attachment. You can use a easy curl bar. It's whatever your preference is. I like how there's a true supination and my hands are palms are completely facing towards me. And I feel like I just get a way better mind muscle connection that way. So I'm gonna go up, squeeze, slow on that eccentric, really milking the negative through the bicep. Big stretch at the bottom. Don't sleep on the stretch. So the reason I say that is because for a lot of movements, you're gonna get just as much hypertrophy in that lengthened position under load as you are in that contracted position. So I wanna really stretch for each and every rep to get the maximal motor recruitment and also keep that tissue nice and long and healthy. If I can train it long, I'm more likely gonna keep it healthy because I can't go as heavy, and I'm also training in a stretch position, so my body is not getting all shortened from training in the short range of motion. And so what I usually do is 12 to 15 reps. And what you can do at the end of your set, if you're feeling a little more advanced, is a little bit of momentum curl. So let's say I hit that for 8 to 10 without resting. I can come here, sit up slightly, and we can use a little momentum from the hips. So I'm not gonna take it from the elbows. I'm not gonna lift the elbows up. I'm gonna keep the elbows low. I'm gonna take a little momentum through the hips, and I'm gonna get some pass failure reps. So Little momentum through the hips, but you see I'm not moving my elbow. The elbows are staying nice and low, and I'm keeping that impetus in the bicep. Little momentum, squeeze. So using momentum usually gets a bad rap. If you have to use momentum from the very first rep, probably not a proper way for you, but if you want to use it as an intensity technique, it definitely can be efficacious because you've already got a really good pump with those negatives. You're at failure, and then you sit up and you hit some past failure reps within reason with the weight that you know is not dangerous because you've already done 10 reps with a hold and negative. Obviously it's not like exorbitantly heavy for you. So when you sit up and you get some kind of momentum, call them like cheat reps, it's almost that past failure, past exhaustion, and it'll help you get that little extra bit of hypertrophy. I think personally, I get the most hypertrophy on those type of sets. I don't think it's a beginner way of training because then it kind of encourages that ego lifting. But I think it's opposite of ego lifting. I think it's more about understanding about going lighter, and then when you absolutely need a little bit more of a little nudge to get those reps up and fight for that extra burn, that's what I usually do. So 8 to 10, maybe a 12 with the slow negative. Then if you're more of an intermediate advanced, you can add in kind of some of those past failure reps because it'll completely torch your biceps. All right, third exercise, we are going to do a alternating static hold iso curls. So we're gonna lean forward on these because what I want to do is match that vector of force. That's what's great about cables, is you can put that vector of force pretty much anywhere. So I'm gonna go from low to mid, but if I stand at a frontward angle, I'm actually getting more leverage here, and also that angle is coming perfectly from behind me, and I'm gonna curl up and squeeze here. Now what I'm gonna do is keep one at the top, brace the core, curl one back, stretch, squeeze, static iso hold. So my biceps are constantly under tension. I'm getting a static hold at the top of my rep in that peak contracted position. As you can see, same thing. I'm not over curling, I'm not up here. I'm gonna lose tension. I gotta be in tension at all times. Big stretch, squeeze. See that forward lean? I'm maintaining mechanical leverage over the weight, keeping that tension in my bicep, and I'm basically gonna take these to failure. So I usually try to go for 8 to 10 each. Big squeeze, slow eccentric, big stretch at the top, supinated palms, squeeze. So when I'm gonna get to failure to that, I'm gonna drop both of them back. So now I shake them out for a sec, and then I'm gonna hit alternating with little momentum. Oof, 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 oof. And then I would take those to failure as well. It's almost a mechanical drop set in the sense of I do the static holds, I get to failure on that, and then I can get a little rest when I'm not hitting that rep. So it's a little bit of what's called a mechanical drop set. So I'm not dropping the weight, but I'm changing the way I'm performing the movement to allow myself to do more reps. So it's a drop set in that capacity because that alternating holding at the bottom is much easier than the static hold at the top. So like I said, 8 to 10 alternating, then burn out to failure with those kind of, not cheat reps, but like with the other one, a little bit of momentum. If you're starting out, I would recommend just doing the static hold so you don't overtrain or burn out, and just do the static hold to failure, and then or for 8 to 10, and then do rest into your next set. But that was my third favorite exercise. Let's go to number 4. Fourth exercise, got to get those fatties. So, okay, those chode arms. So we're gonna do, everybody, you got to throw at least one neutral grip variant, just because we want to work on the width. So what I like to do is almost a drag curl variant. So I don't know if you guys know what a drag curl is, but it's where you really pull the elbows back, and it's instead of like hinging at the elbow, it's almost like dragging up the body. So we're gonna exactly what we're gonna do with this rope curl. So we're gonna drag it nicely down the body, stretch at the bottom, and then we're gonna pull it up nice and as high as you can while keeping the elbows down in. Then we're gonna drag it right down the body, stretch, pull up, and squeeze. So you see how it's not a traditional, I'm not here just traditionally curling, I'm almost just, that's why it's called a drag curl. I'm dragging it down and up the body. Squeezing at the top, slow on that eccentric. And the reason for a drag curl is because it keeps that elbows tucked. And we talked about this a lot, about keeping those elbows back. The minute you start to do this, you're losing tension in the bicep. So we want to keep tension as much as possible. And so what we're gonna do is a drag curl into a traditional curl. So I'm gonna hit that for 8 to 10, squeezing with that neutral grip. We're gonna recover, reset, 5 to 10 seconds, shake it out, and then we're gonna do a traditional hammer curl. So palms are gonna be facing towards each other, neutral grip, and then we're gonna tuck those elbows back. Then we're gonna hit more of a traditional curl for 8 to 10. So as you can see, a lot of my movements, especially for biceps, are that kind of pre-exhaust, exhaust. And they're a smaller muscle group, and I think that you have to train them with a little bit more of these intensity techniques, and they're much more prone to injury. I think the two most kind of prevalent injuries you see in bodybuilding are pec and bicep. So I don't want to try to preacher curl. You guys have probably all seen the video of the dude who pierced both of his biceps at once doing the preacher curl. Pretty fucked up video. If you haven't seen it, don't look it up. I wouldn't if I were you. She'll never do biceps again, or preacher curls for that matter. But I think that's why I like to hit them with more of the intensity techniques than maybe a bigger muscle group like lats or mid-back or legs that you can hit with a little bit more weight with less risk of injury. Just like that mechanical positioning is so disadvantageous, especially in that stretch position with a lot of weight, and with something placed underneath your elbow, it's just putting yourself in a really precarious position to have a tear either at the insertion by your shoulder or the insertion by your elbow. So just that's something you want to play around with. So that's why I use more intensity techniques as opposed to heavier weights. So like I said, 8 to 10, good drag curl, really keeping those elbows back, dragging up the body, big squeeze, and then rest, then hit more of a traditional neutral grip curl. So that's exercise number 4. All right, 5th and final exercise, we are going to be doing an iso leaning curl on the preacher. You can use either side of the preacher. You can even do the seated preacher. I like the flat side just because it allows me more stretch. So what I'm gonna do is reach nice and deep. And you see how I turn the body. And the reason for that is it allows me to have better mechanical leverage. I know I talk about that a lot. So if I'm here, I'm gonna lose some of that stretch, you see? Whereas here, I get a lot more of that stretch. So be very careful with the weight. I know I've got 45-pound dumbbell. Please start this with maybe 15, maybe 20. I've been doing biceps for a very long time. Watch me fucking, knock on wood, tear my bicep doing this fucking shit right now. I'm gonna go stretch here, up, and squeeze. So you see, I'm not coming all the way to the top, no tension there. Keep it locked in. Big stretch, pull for that opening, really reach for it, and then squeeze. Slow. So you see here, I'm keeping that tension in the bicep, and then I'm down, and I'm reaching for it at the bottom, and then curling up, and big squeeze. So the biggest form cues on this are big stretch, big peak contraction, constant tension in the bicep. That's another principle that I use a lot, is that constant tension. Because if you are gonna continually break, so let's say I'm doing a alternating curl and I'm always stopping the bottom, you're losing tension in that bicep, that's not working. This, conversely, you're getting constant tension through the bicep through the entirety of the set. So you're not resting and then hitting it, resting and hitting it, which allows you to go lighter, but get a lot more hypertrophy because you don't have that rest at the bottom of the rep. So that's another big kind of point of worth noting for these exercises. So like I would say, anywhere between 8 and 15 reps on this one. I would go closer to that 12 to 15 just because you don't want to go so heavy that you're going to risk injuring yourself. This is probably, none of these are very high injury risk. This is probably the highest just because you're putting your bicep at an island. It's extremely stretched and you're pushing something below the elbow. So it's putting a lot of mechanical tension on the bicep, especially in that stretch position. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want to see more of these top 5 exercise series of the perfect workout, so to speak, please comment below. I'd always appreciate seeing what you guys have to say. Hopefully I can give you guys some thoughtful responses, but without further ado, support the channel, subscribe if you're not. I will see you guys on the next video.